Bargain bin, bargain bin. Let's see what crowd is in.
I'm on a secret mission for the bargain bin.
Hi. Here you go. I'll take a Incantessi number 2. Can you sign it to Rob on his big package?
Yes.
You don't recognise me.
It's been a while. Oh, no.
Bargain bin, bargain bin. Let's see what crowd is in. Gather Dave and he's here. He's our man, but please don't scare. Watch out. Here comes the bargain bin. How you doing, mate? This is Ellie. She's my camerawoman.
Hello, Ellie Cameron.
So where you been? Where you been? We haven't seen you for ages.
I have been teaching, actually. And I teach traditional art and life drawing.
Okay, cool.
That's why I haven't really been doing anything comic-wise, because I've been, working as a teacher.
Yeah.
It's like an evolution or a next step with what I'm doing. I'm still going to draw comics, but I'm not going to focus on it entirely because lesson plans,
Yeah, sure.
making sure that I keep up with the latest grading strategies, continued pedagogy when it comes to the evolution of teaching. That's more me anyway now at this point.
Okay.
I've already done everything I needed to do.
Yeah, all right.
I worked at Marvel, I worked at DC Comics, I published my own book. I'm still going to do it. It's just,
Sure.
I'm gonna greatly lower my appearances to conventions.
Yeah. You got people waiting for you. It looks like you got people waiting for you.
We'll find out in a minute.
Yeah. Because they were just gesturing over this way.
I'll find out in a second.
Yeah. You're more popular than you think, I think.
It's okay, it's fine. Hi.
Hi,
Hi.
My name's Rich. What's your name?
Maps.
Hi.
Hi.
What's your name?
Lorraine.
Hi, Lorraine. How are you?
You know my name.
I know who this is. What's your name again?
Rob. Rob G. Price Toons.
Rob Price, yes.
Yeah.
That's right. Hello. What do you guys want to know? Any questions or anything?
Oh, it's going to watch you. What you were doing?
Well, what I was doing before, I just finished drawing a Deadpool Wolverine piece where that's going to be auctioned off for a charity. So, it's the least I could do for Amanda and Pete. They're really great hands. They invited me to the show. This is the first show I've been to for about 2 years. I had to stop for a bit. I'm a teacher now. I'm going to finish up what I have to do, and I'm probably going to lower my con attendance significantly because I'm an HE teacher now at this point. And it's like, well, someone taught me how to do what I do, and I've been at this for about 30 years. And I've said to Rob over here a while ago, I've had my day in the sun, if you will. I worked for Marvel and DC, the top 2 comic book publishers on the planet. And I didn't even go to school for it, which is funny. But that's it. I've had it. Now let's get the next generation going and let them do something far better than I've ever did.
Who was it who who led you down this path then?
The person most directly responsible is Keith Williams.
Okay.
He's been an inker for comic books for a long time. Over 40 years. And one day I actually got a job at Marvel as a staff artist after an internship. And I had an idea of what I was doing, but I really didn't know what I was doing. But and then Keith Williams pops in. He goes, "I need an assistant to help me with some pages." And I go, "I got it." I just put my hand up. I had no idea what I was going to do. But he took me under his wing, and for 2 years, while I was on staff, I did some assistance work on the inside, as well as whatever I did here. And a couple of years later, I was a freelancer for about a good 10 years.
When you were working on the comics, do you have your own character you have to work on, or are you just told, do this scene?
I'm told to do the scene.
The scene.
That's it. I'm told to do the scene. Draw it this way, ink it that way, whatever it might be. You're pretty much a hired gun. You really are. You're pretty much a seal, where it's like they throw you this fish and it's like, all right, clap.
Yeah.
And then you do it. But you do it with great fervor, and you do it with love, and you do it with happiness and joy, because I love doing what I love. Well, I still love it. I love doing what I do. And it's not something that ever goes away, but you know when you have. I mean, it's not even so much that I feel like I'm obsolete. You know what I mean? I could still do it. It's not a question of that. It's just that it's like I've already done it for a long time. You know, I mean, to me, it's like if you're doing comics, if you work in comic books, there's so many other things you can branch off from there. You know, film, storyboarding, staging. You know, editing, whatever it might be. You know, it's like comics should always be a stepping stone in an artist's continuing evolution, whether it's one way or another. I know way too many artists who still do the same bloody thing, and they've done nothing with themselves. I mean, I worked with another artist who just did what he did throughout the entire time that he's been doing. He's been clapping at it for about 25 years, and now this person doesn't do it nearly as much as he did before, and he doesn't know anything else. And I mean, it's not that you can't learn a new skill, but when you're doing nothing but that, and you're like 50 or 55, you know, it's like, all right, make a choice. You know, it's like I stopped doing all the stuff that I was doing when I was, how old was I? Good question. When I stopped altogether, I was about 41, and right around that time is when I decided I went back to uni, finished a degree in English, creative writing and English literature, and I was going to use that to either be a teacher or a lawyer before I moved here to the UK. And after COVID, I went over to Confetti, and I was a guest lecturer there. From what I understand, the kids loved my lectures. So 4 months later, I applied for a job, and I got there, and now I'm a teacher. Now I'm a teacher. I'm entering my second year, and it's the most rewarding thing I've ever done.
English or art, what do you actually?
English, no. English I did because, well, English, it turns out I can do a little bit of writing. I haven't really exercised that, not that much. But English was more of a means to an end. You know, because I could be a teacher from that point. You can also be a lawyer from that point. You can also be a business administrator or a copywriter or a whole bunch of other things that involve any type of, you know, continuous writing one way or the other. You know, I mean, even statistics have a little bit of that too. So it's just, I wanted to make sure that if I was going to go into master's studies, I wanted to get that first, and that was it. So, but then I wound up teaching over at Confetti. I was going to study in the United States, but I was married to a British woman, which we're not.
Plus, I mean, it would cost forever to pay it off, right?
Well, it's if I stayed in the States, I mean, I was ready to do it. If I stayed in the States, it would cost me about £6,000 per semester, which is the term.
Okay.
Per term. I could afford it, but it would be close, and I was going to start studying in 2018, and it would have taken me about 2.5 years, and we would have hit COVID right at the end of it. So I probably would have lost, probably would have missed it at that point. So I got lucky. You know, after COVID ended, allegedly ended like late 2021, that's when I went to the lecture at Confetti, and here I am now. But yeah, I have a couple of projects that I'm still working on that I'm going to finish up rather soon. And hopefully once I finish those, I'll figure out what's next. Because, I mean, I love doing this, but at the same time, you know, I mean, you can only go so far. You know, you can only go so far in whenever you do anything like that. It's like, you can't, when you're an artist, or when you're anything for that matter, I feel you should always just continuously evolve. You know, in whatever you decide you're going to do, or maybe look for something else entirely different. Because, again, doing something for that length of time, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's just for me, I can't do it. I have to just go from one thing to another. And it's always good to have a personal evolution in anything that you do, any creative endeavor that you have.
Right. We both like to draw, but we just do it
for
ourselves, but we don't do anything fancy. But I have trouble with the eyes, they always seem to come out really big.
I'm sorry?
When I'm drawing people's eyes, They always seem large.
Well, that's a manga influence, isn't it?
It looks
Way to
alright.
do it.
That's so that was my.
There's an easy way to do it. I'll show you. Let's see. Is there any markers there at all? First on, there's never any supplies we need. I'll just bring it right over there. We bring this over here.
All right, fair.
Yeah.
There's no purpose.
Do you have a pen for once?
Do you have one on your table?
I have a marker. I'll get one. I'm right back.
You've got a picture of that doctor here. Yes. Just show around the eyes all out.
This has been Rob Price for Bargain Bin News.
Okay. Now, are we talking like drawing cartoon faces? I mean, it's going to be the same principle. All right. So it's let's say you want to draw a face in the proper proportion. First thing you want to do, obviously, whenever you draw anything like that, you're going to draw an oval, which is going to be where the face, the shape of the overall face. It's like an egg. So I'm going to draw a really bad egg over here, just like this. All right. So obviously, we have the shape of this oval right over here. Now, keep in mind the actual shape. All right? Pay attention to that specific fact. In the middle over here, draw a horizontal line over here. This over here is where your eyes are going to go. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a line from here to here. Now this vertical line over here that intersects here, kind of makes it a hash mark. This indicates the direction of your face. Now, when I say the direction of your face, whenever you draw a human head, think of it as an egg, as in a three-dimensional object, that has like this, the light hitting one part and the shade on the other. It's a three-dimensional object. So if I draw the same thing over here, but this is going towards the left, instead of drawing it like this, what I do is I start from this particular point, and I draw what would be considered the center line going down over here. Now this would be the direction that the face is going. Now the same can apply over here for the eyes as well. And have the eyes go like this. Now I'll show a diagram of this later, but you see how I'm treating this thing, this oval, like it's a three-dimensional object? That's how you gotta treat it. You must treat it that way, but for argument's sake, we're just gonna do it this way, just to get the proportions right. Now, what I do usually is if I want to figure out how big the eyes are, what I do is I draw 5 circles from one end to the other, starting with something over here, like a very light circle over here, and then I draw another one here. And I make sure that they're all of equal size. All the circles are going to be of equal size. So let's say I have those over there. Can you see what I have here right now? That's how you figure out how big your eyes should go. Okay? Now, what else is there? Yes, also, over here, this functions as, this could be a very, very quick drawing of the orbits of the eye. So that helps out tremendously. Come on in.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
All right, so now that we have this, what we do is we go down a little bit more than halfway, depending. It's just like, usually it's a little bit more than halfway, maybe it's a little less than halfway. It all depends on how you want to draw your eyes and you draw your face. But over here, I'm going to go just halfway for entertainment purposes. This is going to be the bottom of your nose. Now, when it comes to like certain geometry of drawing your face, it's very symmetrical in a lot of ways, and there's a lot of little hints that you can get away with. Now, if you ever take a look at your face and you really look at yourself, the one thing you want to keep in mind, especially when you draw the nose, like what's the shape of the nose? Anybody get an idea? Anybody have an idea of the shape of the nose?
Triangle?
Thank you. Okay. So the triangle's going to be over here. Let's say it's right here. Okay, just like that. Now, to make sure that you get the width of your nose, correct, you can think of an imaginary line that goes from the edge of the nostril to the inner part of the eye, right here. So if you're going to do that. If you want to make your nose a little bit wider, then yeah, that's fine. But this is based on your common geometry of the human face. That's it. Really, that's really essentially it. Obviously, like there's more polish. I have to put like a little bulbous area, a little bit of, nostrils, a little bit of bulbousness over here. Maybe he had it broken a few times because he opened his mouth a little bit too much, but it's the same old thing. Now, if we go a little bit less than halfway down, we have the mouth. Now the mouth, here's another hint with the mouth. I'll just put it over here just like this. The edges of the mouth line up with the middle of that circle that you're talking about. So, if you want to give yourself a little bit of dots over here, just to give yourself an indicator on how wide you want to make the mouth. And it goes right there. Okay, just like so. Obviously, you have your cleft over here. Is there a light that can be turned on?
You just have to wave while you're over there.
All right, okay.
Someone run over there and wave.
There you go.
Okay, thank you. So now we have that geometry over there. Now, the shape of the eyes usually is one of almond. So whenever you have this, you're simply just going to draw almond within the orbit, what's supposed to be the orbit of the eye, just like so. Okay. Now, another thing that you can use for guides is the actual circle over here, because right over here, these big circles are meant to be reasonable facsimiles of the orbits of the eye in your skull. Because you got a big holes over here where the eyes, they pop in. Over here is the eyebrows. Now the eyebrows, obviously, the eyebrows are really just meant to keep dust or sunlight out of our eyes or something, so we have that. But they go along the ridge of the orbits of the eye. So all you have to do is just draw those eyebrows like that, and in less than 5 minutes, you have a face.
Yeah.
Less than 5 minutes, you have a face. Now, if I wanted to draw the ears, you have to do it a certain way. Now, remember how I had over here where I drew this line this way? Okay? The face can be drawn in 4 different quadrants. Like if you're taking, if you take, let's say that's the top of your head, that's the front going this way, that's obviously the back, this is the left and the right. Your nose would be over here, and your ears would be over here, and the back of your head would be over there. Now, the way to gauge how big your ears are going to be, and again, this is a loosely based common format of how the face looks. What you want to do is, if you have a face like this, let's put it on profile instead of like the right over here. Let's put it on the side view instead of like a straight on face headshot right over here. And let's say this is the eyes over here, and let's say this is the front of the face that's going in this direction. Just like I did before over here, draw a line down here, and the height of the ears are going to be generally from the corner of the eye here to the bottom of the nose, just like here, right over there. And the ear's not going to be here, it's going to be in the middle of this portion of this measurement over here. Now, we have that. Let me turn this over, because I'm going to show you how you guys draw the ear. A little bit of a sneak trick in drawing the ear. Now, my teacher, Gus Falk, when I was a kid, taught me everything I needed to know about a lot of human anatomy, because he kept on having me draw it over and over and over again. This is when I was like maybe 16, 17. He was out of his mind. He really was. Great medical illustrator. He migrated from Paris to Staten Island, New York. And it's like, why there? I used to live there, and Staten Island is where reality TV shows are based lately, and it's not exactly a cultural bastion of humanity. So, I never admit that, so you're going to edit that out and say Brooklyn.
Maybe.
All right, good.
Maybe.
Anyway, so he told me, he said if you're going to draw something like, if you're going to draw the ear, use 3 letters, C, Y, and D. I'll show you why. Right over here, if I'm going to have the loop of the ear just like this, it looks like a C in reverse, just like this, okay? And when he also says Y, the letter Y, what we're doing is putting in the little flaps and the formations within the ear that are supposed to capture the sound and bring towards the inner ear canal, which is going to be represented by what we would call the letter D. So that is like a very loose generalization of how the ear would look. But if I just flesh all this out, and if you look at some of the cartoons that you see, they're really not far from what I just showed you. So it's the letter C in reverse, the letter Y, and then the letter D, and you have yourself ears. Just like that. You see how it just flares out and does all that stuff? So yeah, there's that. So what I just showed you, you can take home and just, copy if you want. I'll let you take pictures of it.
Your ears are going to be more tricky.
One thing that I'm really happy about is that we're finally going to introduce a life drawing class to the university that I teach. And I'm very pleased about that because I teach game art. And a lot of game art involves a lot of concept art. And all the students who go in there want to design their own characters. Even if you're a cartoonist, you want to design your own characters. Now, if you're going to design characters, it's going to be for superheroes or for video games or something. One thing you have to be sure of is that when you design a character, it has to be of normal human proportions. Now, you can have them larger muscled or really skinny or anything, but there's a general template on the general formation of the skeleton that you have to consider whenever you create a character, because even if you draw horror characters or really distorted characters, there's an equal divided geometry of each side of the whatever character is, whether it's bipedal or quadruped, because it goes right down the middle and it replicates on both sides. That's why we have 2 arms, 2 legs, 2 eyes, all that stuff. So the way that I do it, and I've shown this to my students and it's helped them a lot from what I was told, from what they've told me. The way that I would put together a thumbnail for a human form, let's say if you're ever drawing anything and you want to have a certain pose or something. The first thing, you don't just draw it from immediate, you don't just draw a bicep and then you just work from there. You have to start at a foundation. You have to have a basic foundation of what you're going to draw. So the way that I go is this. Let's say I want to have a character of a certain height. What I do is I start with the top height and the bottom of the height, like the top of the head, bottom of the feet, right there. Next thing I do is I draw a line right in the middle, over here, if I may, just like so. This is where your hip is going to lie, and they don't lie. I had to say it, I'm sorry. Now, we're going to go up a little bit less than 2/3 of the way. We're going to go up a little bit less than 2/3 of the way, and we're going to draw another one over here. That's going to be the shoulders. Now, what we're doing here is not only a thumbnail of the drawing, but a skeleton for the gesture of the drawing. If you capture the gesture that you're drawing correctly, everything else will fall into place without any issue at all, because then you can just have smaller geometry as you go out, and that's easier to put together than some of the larger components of the drawing. Right now, we're already 2/3 of the way there. The next thing I do is I draw a point from the middle here, vertically down towards this point over here. This is the direction of the torso. Now, we kind of covered that with the face. So whichever direction this line is for the torso is going to go, that's the direction that you're going to do. That's the direction you're going to have in your drawing, and that's the side. If this is going towards our left, you're going to see the left portion of that figure's body. Here, you're going to see more of this part you're going to see more of the left part of that figure than the right part. If we see one side, it's going to be one way, and it's going to be exactly. So I'll show you. Now that we have this, what we want to do is we want to establish the rest of the portions and dimensions. If we go a little bit more than a half, we're going to draw a couple of ovals right over here, and they're going to taper towards this insertion point between the torso line and the shoulder line. And we're going to make sure that these ovals taper, sorry about that, towards this point, and we make sure they're the even size. I'd like to think a lot of you know what these ovals here are supposed to represent. Okay? Just raise a hand, let me know. Anybody has it a guess? Yes?
Ribcage.
Yes, thank you. That's exactly what we're doing.
Not the boobs.
The rib cage, that's a generic rib cage. It can be wider, it can be more narrow. When you're drawing a female character, the rib cage is a little bit more narrow and the hips are a little bit wider as a result because you don't have to give birth and all that. And for whatever else it is. But now we're just doing the generic form here. So what we're gonna do now is we go over here and we draw a couple of flat ovals looking down this way, but now they're tapering towards the insertion point where the torso and the hip line up, just like this. These represent the hip bones. All right, so now we have essentially the torso. Okay, we essentially have the torso. Now, we're gonna draw the legs next. There's a bunch of tricks there's a bunch of things dimensions you have to pay attention to whenever you draw them. There's a couple of things that are a little bit tricky. Now, the legs don't start here on the bottom of the leg, on this hip line. They start within the hip. You see over here in the hip, it's a ball and socket joint. And the bone that's connected to over this part is called the femur. It's the largest bone in the body. It supports the most weight, and it has and it's attached to the most proportional musculature of the body. It pretty much handles all the muscles in the legs, which contain a considerable amount of weight. And it's also bent a little bit, because if it was straight, it wouldn't be able to take all the impact of the running and the jumping. With the body curved, with the skeleton curved a little bit, it dissipates the force a little bit more efficiently. That's why it's curved. So what we're going to do is I start by placing a couple of dots here where the bones are generally going to be located, where they're generally going to be. So let's say I have, like I said, the femur. It looks like this. It's a kid's drawing really, but it looks like this. This obviously goes in there. So what I do is I draw a line going down here, slight taper just like this, and then I do this over here just like this as well. And so, yeah, okay. Now, another thing we have to pay attention to. If we go 7/8 of the way down from this point down to the bottom, we go 7/8 of the way, we make another dot over here. Anybody tell me what this is supposed to be? Ankles, exactly. You gotta compensate for the ankles just like you gotta compensate for the feet when you draw the arms, which we'll do next. Now, I'm sure you know that the feet are a triangle as well. So we're not gonna go into the anatomy of the foot. We're just gonna go like this. We're gonna have a couple of feet coming out this way, just to get it out of the way. Now, here's the kicker. The only time you measure for the knees is when you go from pointing the hips to the ankle. You look for your halfway point, right over here. There are your knees.
Oh.
Okay, that is something you have to make sure that if anybody draws anything like this, that's how you have to do it. That's how. So now, in less than 5 minutes, you now have an idea of how to draw the legs. All right, easy as pie. It's kind of easy if you just do it a lot. Now, the next thing that we do, we're gonna go up to the arms. Now, the bones that are gonna act like the hips, even though they're not attached, you see the hips are one bone. They go across the bottom to help support the spine as well. But they don't have to do that for your shoulders. Your shoulders have 2 separate bones, and the name of those bones are scapulas. And the shape of the scapulas are triangles. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna place a couple of triangles up here that are gonna be interpreted as the shoulder blades. Well, yeah, like the scapula right over there. Now, as I said before, they act just like the hip bones, where it's a ball and socket joint, but instead of the femur, it's called, the bone on the upper arm is called the humerus. And it looks something like this. Now, it differs a little bit from the femur bone because the femur is the one that's supporting all the weight of the human body, but the humerus is not because it's just the arm, so it goes straight. You can just have a straight line like this, literally just like this. Something like that. That's what essentially it looks like. So what I do, just like I did over here, I put a couple of points over here. That's going to be where the humerus bone is going to go, like so. And what I do is I draw to a point where it is the same horizontal plane as the rib cage. Now, if you have this, if you always follow this and you make sure that it goes around in the same way, you will never go wrong in your proportions. You will never go wrong in your drawings at all. Okay. Now, when I finish all of this, I'm going to put this to practice, and I'll show you. You know, they left, and I'm like, I wish you stayed because they didn't get to see the cool stuff. but that's all right. So at the same time, what I do here, I just put a little bit of a mark over here just to say, okay, that's the elbow. Now I do it again over here. Now I draw 2 lines over here. I should draw 2 lines over here too, because there are 2 bones on the bottom where your calves are. And there's 2 bones over here where your forearms are, called the radius and the ulna. They help pronate and supinate your arm back and forth like this. So I draw 2 of these like this. And that's 90% of everything you have. Now, I'm not gonna go into the hands because it's too much. So I'm just gonna draw a couple of ovals right over here. And now we get to the head. Now, I go up maybe 1/5 or 1/4 of the way, something like that. I just used it as a general template, whatever it might be. So I just draw a line over here. At that point, that's the neck. And now we go over here. Now I'm drawing an oval, just like we did with the face. That middle. Okay, in about, what, how much time?
Yeah, in about 5 minutes.
Yeah, it took me about 5 minutes to do that. Yeah, it took me, I just showed you in 5 minutes how to draw proportionally a human body. Now, I'm gonna show you how it all works. Just give me a minute. I wanna get a pencil and I'll show you. All right, and let's say I'm gonna draw him flying. Okay, for me, I'll start at the hip, right over here. Like, I'll start height over here and height over here. Here's my hip. Here's my shoulder line right over here. Here's my torso line. This is where my rib cage is gonna go. And then over here with my hip bones. Over here, let's say I make sure that I have that dimensions correct. Over there, and it's like, have my ankle over here. Just like so. I draw a little bit of I draw a line. One thing I want to do also is I want to draw a very light 90-degree line from the bottom of the rib cage to where the arm is going to be positioned. That's where your elbow is going to be. So if I draw this over here, just like so, now I can do something else with my arm. I can have it just like this. And like I did with before, with the direction of the face, I'll show you over here now. Now that I have that, here's how I'm going to do it. Because I've drawn this a billion times, I'm just going to go ahead and just straight up do it. Now, shoulders, this. Your chest muscle is going to be right over here, connects to your deltoid, which goes into your biceps right over here. And those tuck behind the chest muscle, but go behind the back muscle right over here. Now, obviously, your rib cage terminates over here. This is where your ab muscles go. You have your internal, external obliques right over here. It's the pelvic area. This is where your leg muscles begin, right over here. You have your median, outer, and inner quadricep muscles, as also your sartorius muscle, which helps your legs close or open. You know, depending if you're going to do a chicken leg. You know, just like that. You have your knee right over here. Then you have the front. You have your frontal bone. I forgot the name of it over here.
Patella.
Thank you, patella. Right over here, and then you have your calf muscles going down this way. Your ankles are right here. Your feet are over here. And like I did before, leg muscle over here, and all there. See that? And now we have here the bicep, which is actually only like 1/3 of the mass of the arm. It's supposed to be the most featured muscle when everyone does a pose like this, but the tricep has 2/3 of the mass of the muscle of the arm. So, you know, tricep doesn't get any love because it doesn't have that peak in the middle. You know, so we have this over here. And like I said before, we're just going to put a little bit of something over there for the hand. Activate that for a little. Okay, trapezius muscles and neck muscles over here. Gastrocnemius over there, that's the name of that muscle. Okay, now we take care of the portions of the face. We do that. C, my ID, and here you are. See how that works? I mean, it takes a little bit of studying of the human musculature system, but just from all that I just drew, all that thing that I just showed you, which took about 5 minutes, now you have the proportions that you can use as a template to draw any type of superhero character, male or female, that you wish. So yeah, ta-da! There you go.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for being here to take a look at it. You know, so I'm assuming you're going to record this and you put this online and everything.
I can do.
Yeah, do that. So
Okay.
with this gentleman over here, Rob Price. If you want to see that video again, so you can you can see it again and then maybe do some stuff for yourself. By all means, please do.
Yeah, if that's okay. Yeah,
Thank you,
good.
Rob.
Oh, welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Excellent, man.
Free advertising corner for Star Rider Comics of Grimsby, Paul and Debbie. Oh, it's loud in here, isn't it? Yeah. So, what's the address, Paul?
156 Victoria Street.
All right, in Grimsby.
Grimsby, yeah.
All right, for DC, Marvel models and comics.
Things sort of sci-fi, film, TV.
Yeah, if you get there on Tuesday, maybe you'll find Rattle and Roll there as well. All right, good luck, mate.
Will Mr. Rattle's dreams come true? Who is the mysterious Dawn? Where does role of Rattle and Roll fit into this? Why did Mr. Rattle stow away to America? What is a jam? Where did Mr. Rattle get counterfeit money? Why doesn't Mr. Rattle have whiskers? All these and other questions will be answered in the first and following issues of Rattle and Roll.
We are the bargain bin. You heard the bargain bin. Huh? This is the bargain bin.